Hey guys, Susanna Westwood here. Welcome. So today we are doing, well, I'm very excited that we're doing an amazing interview with Joe here, and he's going to kind of talk a bit about it. So this is an amazing musician that's, you've kind of been working through some of the Be Iconic stuff, you've doing your own amazing career, so we're very excited. So would you introduce yourself firstly, and then tell everybody what you do and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm Joe Borowsky, and I'm from Ontario, Canada.
Awesome.
And I've been playing music since the age of 11, actually, is when I got my first guitar. That's when I started writing right away. So I've been doing this my whole life, essentially.
Nice.
And just kind of got a little more serious with it in the last probably about 5 or 6 years, believe it or not, but just more serious with it, yeah.
This is so cool. It's cool. So we've been kind of having several conversations about, obviously, your career, and you're just about to launch your album, well, you just have, which is very exciting, which we're going to hear some music in a little while. And so it's just been really great to kind of chat with Joe and find out what his passion is and what his goals are with his music career. And yeah, it's very inspiring just to have those conversations with other musicians who are on that journey of trying to really break into their industry and defining their industry for themselves, which is the big thing, which we've just literally had a conversation about. It's like defining it for yourself. So it's awesome. Would you be able to play us some stuff from your album? I know we haven't got the whole thing together like you normally use. Is it your loop pedal and things like that you normally play with and perform?
Yeah, I usually use a loop pedal for some songs. Some songs I'm just acoustic, and it's just me and my guitar.
Awesome.
So I'm going to show you some songs more today that I use, with just me and my guitar.
No.
But a lot of times I'd use the loop pedal to kind of like, so I have some backing and some beats and some different things going on.
Awesome.
I may try one, but I'm gonna try to see if I can do it with just the guitar.
Perfect.
With a few of these songs.
So what's the first song you're gonna play for us?
The first one is the one that actually when I wrote this song, it was probably the shortest time that out of all the songs I wrote. It took the least amount of time, but I had this feeling about it, and it ended up being one that's it's the number one song on my Spotify right now.
Awesome.
So I'm assuming that's the one people keep going back to hearing.
Yeah.
So so actually, just really quick story. This is kind of funny because I was doing some gigs before I released this album, and I had some fans come out that knew some of my stuff, and I did this little coffee house about an hour from where I live, and I was doing all these covers, and one of the people that came up to hear me, they're like, "Oh, can you do one of your new songs?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm not really showing anyone the new stuff yet. It's released in a week, so soon enough." And they convinced me, and the whole time there was this little 2-year-old girl that was in the coffee house, and I was playing all these songs, and we were trying to get her dancing, and she wouldn't dance. And so anyway, at one point I looked at her and I thought, I'm going to try this one because I just have this feeling about the song. So I started playing this, and all of a sudden she started shaking her bum and kind of backing off her mom. She was sitting on her mom's lap. She got off and she started dancing, and everyone's like laughing and clapping along. And it was one of those moments where I was like, wow, all these covers I was doing, wasn't doing it for her. But as soon as I did the I'm like, that's a good moment song.
Yes, that's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Really good song.
So she started dancing. It was just really neat. So
perfect.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. This song's I can do it for you though. It's called "Be My Fate."
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
One more night in San Francisco, one more time in LA, walking down in the shadows of autumn, listening to this old guitar play. And you say that you will be my fate, the only lover, so we'll be far away, so far away. Sunny days or days of rain, we'll love each other just the same. Hold me close and kiss the pain. Forget those monsters, they've gone away. And you say that you will be my fate, the only lover. So we'll be it's you and me. We're gonna find our freedom, take this train so far away, 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 so far away. And in dark times, when skies are gray, I'll move those clouds so far away. I promise you that if you stay, I'll shine a light for you to find your way. And you say that you will be my fate, the only lover. So we'll be it's you and me. We're gonna find our freedom, take this train so far away, 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 so far away.
That was so awesome. Oh, I love
Let's
it.
be, let's be my fate. So as soon as I started kind of getting this,
Yeah.
right, she started kind of like, what's going on, right? And all of a sudden she's dancing, and it was kind of like one of those moments where as an artist you always feel like when you're playing shows and gigs, people just want to hear covers.
Yeah.
Like there's just something in the back of your head, and I've talked to other artists about this, and I think it's because we know they know the song, so we're kind of like, okay, we're gonna give them what they want, but then it teaches you that, like when that happened, I was like, I kind of I started playing, and I said to myself, like, wow, she's doing that for my song, you know what I mean? And as a kid, and then I even had a few people afterwards that were on the other side that were older, like an older gentleman came up and said, he's like, that song was amazing, so I had this 2-year-old, and I was like, oh, that's when you've hit something, because it's kind of like one that touches everybody, right? So
For sure, that is amazing. Yeah, because you've got like the two. Oh, I love it. Yeah, and it hits you. It's amazing. It's very powerful. So finding a little bit more about you, what was the moment you decided that music was the way forward, that this is what you wanted to do, and really, if you could just tell us a little bit more about your background, of how it all began, and just so we can get to know you a little bit more.
Okay. So again, I got my first guitar at age 11. I got accepted into an art school when I was around that age, when I was in grade 4.
Yeah.
So I was just a little guy, and so I was doing cello and piano and singing and dance and all the arts.
Yeah.
But I wanted something cool. So not to say that those aren't cool, but I needed something cool. So I got into guitar, because I was big into like, the kind of punk rock was out at that time. Yeah. It was kind of like the mid 90s, early 90s, Nirvana and stuff. Oh, yeah. And so I wanted a guitar. So my grandmother got me my guitar, and I started right away. I started writing all my own originals, and that kind of kept going for a while. And then what happened was I got into high school, and the first year of high school, they did a tryout for a band, and I tried out for it, and I got accepted into it. And this was the other kids that were in the band were all 3 years older than me. Wow. So it was kind of unheard of that they brought a little freshman in, yeah. A newbie, to be the next guitarist and singer, or at least backup singer and all that. Yeah. And, you know, this is kind of a little lesson that I teach. I also teach music, and so I teach a lot of young kids. And what happened was I kind of had one of those situations where all the guys hated me and all the girls liked me. So it was overwhelming amount of pressure, because I started getting kind of attention from a lot of the girls, because I was a singer and guitarist. Of course, yes. And at the same time, I was not being liked by some of the guys because of that. And so it created kind of a negative attention for me, and I ran away from it. So it really kind of, I didn't like it, because it created this, like, I don't know, I was going through other stuff in my life too, so it could have had something to do with that, but I didn't know how to handle the attention. So I literally stopped playing guitar for about 3 years. So about 3 years went by, and then so I left that band. I quit guitar. I just said, I'm not going to do it. And then and then I got back into it at the end of high school. So that could be why I'm a little bit of a late bloomer in it, but I was always singing. Yeah. But again, writing at age 11 is kind of unheard of. Yeah. Even teaching kids now, I don't see it very often. Yeah,
true. What do you find for you is what's the inspiration when you're starting to write, or when you're even writing this album? How do you get that inspiration for your songwriting? And I know it's such a loose question, because I'm sure there's varying sources. But what is it that kicks off for you? How do you get that inspiration to actually write?
I always say my higher self. Yeah. And depending on who's interviewing me, yeah. that's kind of like, oh, what is that about? You know? No, I'm with you. Just because it's kind of like a new age thing. Yeah. You know, it's not something we always talked about. I think with me, it was never. Music was my guitar was kind of my sanity. As a kid, we all go through different things as kids as we're going through our different times, and so guitar was something I always turned to. Mm-hmm. So when I was writing, I freestyle. Yeah. So I don't write. So even that song, I freestyled it. I remember I freestyled it. That's what I mean. I wrote it like that, just like that. I remember I went in to grab some lunch, and then I thought, that was a good one. And you get that sometimes, because it is all coming from somewhere I can't explain. I just start kind of freestyling it, and sorry, I'm kind of going off track.
No, it's good stuff. But I get you, because it's that connecting in, isn't it? It's connecting into your creativity, source, or whatever you want to call it. But when you're in that flow, oh my gosh, pure creativity comes. It's amazing.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a natural thing. I have done the music writing thing because I do teach music writing as well. And I know there's structure involved and all that. So sometimes I've written a few songs. There's actually a song on my album called Sideways, which is kind of chaotic, I like to say. It has no structure. Like, it has a little bit, but it's kind of one of those ones where I just kind of go off into this tangent. And I try to stay away from that, because it's more like poetry or something, Not that poetry and music don't go together, but they do. Yeah. But yeah, so it came from my higher self. Yeah. That's where I kind of got the inspiration to write. And even as I picked up the guitar later on, in my late teens, early 20s, I went back to that place. I said, okay, and that's when the real writing kind of began.
Perfect. So could you play us another one?
We'd love to. Yeah.
this one going to be called?
Actually, what I'll do is I'll do the song called Theories.
Okay.
Or sorry, not Theories. Theories is the name of the album.
No.
The song is called Looking Glass. So I'll do that one. This one's a little more serious.
That's okay.
So just so I can give you a little bit of a taste of different stuff I do. And it's funny, I referenced Nirvana earlier. Growing up, Nirvana and Kurt Cobain was a huge influence on me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I reference him in this song. So here we go.
Took on the guitar while the world took down Cobain, and I knew that I would always have a friend. Feeling through this looking glass of wood and box and strings, a periscope of broken glass in me. Strumming calls for angry times when I could not relate to those who were calling me to fall. With a heavy life and heavy heart, this feeling is to blame for the scratches and the burning in me. Call me sensitive and make me feel ashamed. Only place to look was deep into your eyes. Mistaken by the things we face in love and heartache. Never forget who you truly are. Took on the guitar while the world took down Cobain, and I knew that I would always have a friend. So that song is called Looking Glass.
It's a little more of the deeper kind of serious side to me there.
I was just lost in it. I was like, oh my gosh, that was so good.
Yeah, so that's Looking Glass, and it's funny how I even brought up Nirvana there because that was Nirvana. People that call it different things, but I would say Nirvana.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kurt Cobain and all that. That was around that time where I was really heavy. It was kind of like that in between time where I was about ready to put the guitar down for a bit, but it was still always there. Like I put the guitar down, and when I say that, I was just thinking about that as I was playing. Is it was down, but I would pick it up when I needed it.
Yes.
But it just wasn't such a daily thing.
Yeah.
You know, like guitar is daily to me, just like music is, I'm sure, daily to you. So, yeah.
I love it. That's so good. So just a couple of things before we finish off. There was a pivotal moment, we've talked about this before, like a pivotal moment where you decided to go full time and do your music. Could you just tell us a bit about what happened for you and why, and what was that kind of emotional push that kind of made you do that? And really just to give, if someone's on the edge of like going, oh, I don't know what to do with their own career, and they're pushing forward and thinking, I'm stuck in this part-time job, or I'm stuck doing what I'm doing, I can't ever do this full-time. You know, a bit of advice of, you know, what it took for you and what made you make that decision.
Sure. I don't talk about this very often, actually. It's something that I've always wanted to talk about.
I found it fascinating when we chatted about it. That's why I'm like,
Yeah. Well, I was working full-time in a job I really didn't like. And I went into a company that was a good company, and then it kind of it started changing as companies do, and started getting into some of the jobs that I really couldn't do. And I got to a point where actually I was really struggling emotionally, to a point where I had to really reach, you know, there's points in our life for different reasons where we have to start talking ourselves through situations. And I'll always remember the day I drove up to work, and I sat in the car, and I just did what I needed to do. I talked to myself and said, give me the strength to get through this day. Like, that's how bad it had gotten. I knew that it's almost like when your soul isn't doing what it's meant to do, you feel like you're being pulled, and it can put you in a really bad negative place. Yes. And that's where I was. And I knew that I had to make a change, and I literally went in, and I knew that day it was going to be my last day at that job, and I made that certain. And I left not having anything to go on. Now, what I had started doing is I was temporarily part-time teaching a few students. And I thought to myself, okay, music is what I'm supposed to do. I knew that in my heart and my soul. So I decided that at that moment that I was going to be honest with you, what I said in my mind was, and I actually said this to my boss at the time. I went up to my boss and said, I'm done. He said, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. You know, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go make the exact same amount that I make doing this, teaching music. And I can remember he kind of gave me this look, like really, you know, like, how are you going to do that? I had no idea, but I took a leap of faith. You always hear about people taking a leap of faith in what they're going to do, because if you don't break that, if you don't do it, you know, I always like Nike, just do it. Like, if you don't just do it, it's just going to sit there all the time, and you're not going to know. So I remember driving home because I just left, and we worked out a situation that didn't see me out of money right away. Just, you know, but that I wasn't going to be back there, and I knew in my heart I wasn't going to be back there. And I went home, and for about a week straight, I dived in. I didn't have time to be upset. I thought, I need to figure this out. So I started going online, finding places to post, to advertise, to teach. I started making flyers. I started making phone calls. I did whatever I had to do. And in no time, I I don't even know when it happened. I think it took about 4 or 5 months. But I remember the moment I looked at my, when I was kind of making sure what I was making, and I thought, I'm making what I made. So, within 4 or 5 months, I was making the same amount I was making at a full-time job in a financial institution.
Wow.
And so I knew at that point that I had done something that I didn't think was possible. Because I hadn't had that in anyone I knew. I didn't know any entrepreneurs in my family. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. Right. So, I just kind of did it. And to this day, that's what I do. I still teach. Actually, this April will mark my 5-year anniversary.
Yay! Good job, you.
Business. So, yeah. And I'm at a point now where, I've got what I call the reserve list. So people who are kind of waiting to come in and excited to start up. And so it's at a very good point, and I'm looking to expand it even further. So it's that's all been great, and it helps me help other people. And I knew I needed to help other people, and I get to help other students, young kids, artists. I even coach artists that are on the road all the time over Skype or over online, and it helps me develop myself. So it's kind of a win-win. And I support them and see them doing amazing things and getting through talent contests and getting their own. Actually, I had one person get signed to a little indie label herself, and so I get to see these things that they want to pursue, and I get to be part of that, and it's an amazing process.
Awesome. That is. I mean, that's part of giving back with music, and whatever your creative talent is being able to give back, and that's awesome. So if people want to get hold of this amazing new album of yours, which is so freaking exciting, what's the album called?
The album is called Theories.
Awesome.
And you can get that anywhere. Like my main website, joeborowsky.com, is probably the easiest way to find it.
Find out. Awesome.
Because you can download it right off the site, and you can buy the CD or get a signed CD. There's all these different options. But it is available on iTunes and Amazon, and what else is out there? Spotify has it. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. You can get it pretty much. So CD Baby, Bandcamp. I mean,
everything.
Yeah,
it's accessible.
It's accessible. It's everywhere. It's all over.
And in terms of seeing you live and stuff, I know you're based in Canada. Are there any dates on your website of any live performances coming up, or will you post stuff when new things come up?
Yeah, after the release, I've taken a little bit of time, a little downtime. I've been doing a few little gigs here and there, some private parties and stuff. But probably my first real big public thing coming up will be May 5th. So not in April, but May 5th, I'm doing a 3-part show with 2 other local artists, great artists,
awesome.
At a place called the Rosewood, and that's in London, Ontario. So I'm excited to do that, and it's a real private. The reason I like it too, it's a real private, kind of intimate place where, everyone's having a good time, but they're kind of listening to the music and really enjoying it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to play another song for us off the album. You said this is your single, is that correct?
Yeah, so before the album was released, I released a single called Milky Way. So I can finish up with that one and show you how that song sounds.
Awesome.
And this one I wrote actually it's probably one of the oldest songs on the new record, because I wrote it probably about 8 months ago. So, so this song's called Milky Way.
Awesome, thank you.
Warm breath, your bright eyes, your smooth skin lying beside scent of love, scent of rain, and no more lies, and no more lies, just a speck of a light in the Milky Way, and we'll burst, just a speck of a light in the Milky Way, and we'll burst, your crazy love, your wicked smile, the kind that drives me to drink, to hide the feelings you see deep inside. Give me time, kill the pain, no more lies, no more lies, just a speck of a light in the Milky Way, and we'll burst, just a speck of a light in the Milky Way, and we'll burst, and we'll burst, just a speck of a light in the Milky Way.
So that song's called Milky Way.
Hi. Oh, perfect ending, honestly. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And yeah, I know loads of people need to go out and get that for sure. So,
I hope so.
yeah. Thank you so much.